Hey YouTube, in this video I'm working on a few different things, but the main thing I want to get done today is putting some heat wrap on the exhaust manifold. So a little status update here for you guys. I've been working on the downpipe. I started off welding in the O2 bung. So I've got that nicely welded in there and tucked back behind there, kind of out of the way. I like it back there rather than sticking out over here. It kind of makes it in the way. I also finished welding basically the downpipe. They're not the prettiest welds, but they are welded, and I've got a nice V-band clamp securing that on. So that is for the downpipe. Also made the dump tube for the wastegate. It's also welded with a V-band on there, so all of that is good. Like I said, the main thing I want to get done today is throwing some heat wrap on this exhaust manifold. Some nice thermal zero heat wrap, lava wrap that we're going to put on there with some metal zip ties. So we're gonna do that, and we're going to show you the process and how to get it done, and hopefully do a good job. So I'm going to get all this disassembled because it's actually pretty assembled right now with the turbo inlet and drain all hooked up, so we got to take all that apart, and once we get this manifold wrapped, we should not have to pull it back off. Alright, first thing I gotta do before we can actually wrap this is I need to fully weld on the V-band end that I just tacked on here. So this is the wastegate. This is what's gonna let the excess exhaust pressure out of the manifold, so basically you don't build too much boost. So that's high level how this works, and it has a spring in there to regulate it. I'm gonna pull this off and I'll show you what I mean. Alright, so that's welded on, and it'll get the job done. So now once that cools down, we'll go ahead and heat wrap this exhaust. So we got the manifold here, and we've got the wrap ready to go. We've got these stainless steel zip ties. These are 8-inch. We've got several different length steel zip ties that we can use, but these 8-inch are probably going to be perfect for this, small tubed manifold here. We've pretty much got this length for this first runner measured, and I'm going to let my girlfriend explain to you how we came up with that measurement.
Okay, so what we did is we took this wrap and wrapped it around to figure out how much we needed. So about this much
is one wraparound.
Yeah, and then I counted how many that we estimated would need to go from here to here, and it was 14 of them. So all I'm gonna do is kind of put it together like this would be one loop, and then just keep going like this. So that would be 2, 3, 4, and so on to 14.
And then at the end of 14, we'll just cut that off, and then that'll give us our length for the first runner. Of course, leaving a little bit extra. So. Yeah. We're going to go ahead and cut the wrap and start installing it. This is the first time we've ever done this, so it's going to be trial and error, but hopefully it'll go smooth, and I'm sure it'll turn out okay. Alright, so it's literally been like 3 hours, and we have 2 runners done. This is very, very tedious work. It's really hard when you're like a perfectionist because it takes a long time to try and get it perfect, and it's not even perfect. So it's hard trying to do around the collector because it's welded back in here, so you actually can't get it any higher. So when we do this collector, we'll have to kind of come down here and wrap around it, but there's a close-up of it. So we're getting there. We measured our first piece too short, so that ended up being this runner, so it was not 14 loops, because going around the curves takes, like this curve here would probably take like 5 loops, but we're learning and we're getting there, and it's very, very slow process. Okay, so we just got this end done on this runner, and I wanted to show you how these metal zip ties work. So when you clip the zip tie all the way around, you pull it kind of tight, you take some metal cutters and you cut off the excess, leaving maybe 1/4 of an inch left here. You kind of see that this little bit left here. And then the way that the zip tie holds itself tight, it's not like a ratcheting system like a normal plastic one. You have to take some needle nose pliers, grab the end, and then twist it around. And then that's going to pull all the loose metal towards you, as well as rolling it in a loop so that it can't go back through. So I'm going to show you that here. I'm just trying to pull my pliers out, and I got it. So now that cable is pretty tight, I'll just kind of squeeze the loop together, kind of make it look good, and then kind of rotate it back so that's kind of hidden. So now this cable is really tight, and it'll keep this from unraveling. Alright, so while my girlfriend's over there slaving away at getting the manifold wrapped, I'm going to go ahead and install this catch can. And so what this is going to do is, the valve covers both have vents in them, and basically the crankcase pressure that builds up in these valve covers will be able to vent to this catch can. So that's what the top for. It allows the pressure to vent out. But when you do that, it also brings some oil with it within the air, and so the oil will get trapped in this catch can and just sit at the bottom, and you'll have to change the oil every once in a while. Not change it, but drain it. So we're going to get this installed, and I think I picked the spot. I'm going to install it right about here. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get this installed. Alright, so here's a final look at the turbo manifold. Came out really nice. Really happy with it. Girlfriend did a great job. She pretty much took this whole project on, and it looks really great. For the section that we wrapped around the collector, that's actually one whole piece of wrap coming from, I believe, this outside one. So we made this one super long, came from the outside, or it might have been this middle one. Came around and then started going around the collector. So it's not its own piece, and that's a good way to do it. And then there's a tie up at the top. So it looks really good. Got this little dump tube wrapped as well. And so this is kind of how the wastegate will go. This will V-band there, and this will V-band right there. And so that will vent just straight to the ground, basically. So we're about to go ahead and install it. Alright, got the hot side all put back together, and I threw the strut brace on there just to make sure clearance was good, and it is, just barely. You can see I've got room for that oil feed. But what I'm going to work on now is getting the AN lines made for the catch can. You guys have seen me do AN lines before, but I'm going to show you again. So I've got dash 10 hose here, and I've already got the blue mark measured out for the passenger side, how long it needs to be, and I'm going to go ahead and cut this with a cutting wheel. I've got the tape on there, and we're going to get the fitting made. Okay, so you can tell that I changed up the length and the routing of the AN hose. Before I was running it up here and around. That just didn't look right, and then I was taking up a lot of space in here and I wouldn't be able to use it for anything. So I shortened it up and kind of routed it like this with that bend in there. So I did a little too short. I kind of wanted it more against the firewall, but I guess that's where the hose will run from the other valve cover. So these two will run together, and should look pretty good. And I'm of course going to heat wrap this exhaust, so that'll all be done soon. That's where I'm going to end it for this one. I appreciate you guys watching, and definitely stay tuned for the next one.